Is it more hits or misses? It's up to you, or it's depending on who we ask, I guess. On the bench tonight, we've got former Makueni Governor Professor Kivuza Kibwana, got former West Pokot Governor John Crop Lonyangapuo, and a little absent, but he's coming back just now, former Bomet Governor Isaac Ruto. Gentlemen, we're talking about devolved projects, I guess devolved functions, infrastructure. That has been a problem. Don't you think so, Governor?
Yes, it has been a problem to the extent that when it comes to like tarmac, roads, it's not easy for most counties to do that because of expenses. But in terms of, as was said earlier by Isaac, when it comes to, Maram roads, when it comes to places where there were no roads whatsoever, Devolution has helped a lot to spread the networks so that many parts of a county, are reachable. And actually, some of the counties, like again in northeastern Kenya, they got tarmac through Devolution, for the first time. And if the equalization fund was also working better, they could even have done more.
What was it like in Makueni?
Even in Makueni, in terms of making sure that there was road network to cover even places where there were no roads whatsoever, that happened. We may not have had the funds to do tarmac because there was always a problem of Kera and Kura. Those actually should have been county functions, but the national government continued to do that, and that is why perennially we kept on saying Mali Ukia, the road has not happened. It's a road from the 40s when my grandfather was one of the people when they were digging it, the community themselves, he was singing as the others, dug the road, but no tarmac. So I think if we were able, and there was a court case by the governors to get Kura, to get Kera to actually be county, functions, then we would even see, tarmac and all that being better. But infrastructure in some counties in terms of tarmac, that's not easy. Machakos, they did quite a bit of that, and some other counties, but on the whole, most of the counties couldn't do tarmac. That was national level work.
Sure. What about West Pokot, Prof?
Yeah, West Pokot, we have a lot of successful stories that if I narrate all of them, you will really be amazed. There was a little kid, 750 grams or something, very little, that was born. That fellow is now walking and can herd cows. And it was very little. Why? Because of the amazing pool of doctors we now have, courtesy of Devolution.
But I thought doctors prefer to be in the nation's capital because of remuneration.
Yes, but nowadays, we are not a joke. Go to counties. Counties is a center nowadays, centerpiece of knowledge. Best houses are found there. You have just talked of vehicles. We have the best vehicles also in the counties than even in the city. So, like West Pokot, we had the first brain surgery outside Moi Teaching and River Hospital, Eldoret.
Yeah.
So, counties, Lodwa, there was a spectacular happening also that was done. Like now, Turkana, Lodwa. Lodwa now is like the destination for tourism.
Lodwa.
24-hour economy, because we have now we have solar. We have enough solar in that region. So if you want to know a place, just tour, really, so that you can appreciate Devolution. 10 years ago, Lodwa was quiet, dead, and darkness. Today is live and live. Better than
street lights.
The street lights. Solar, courtesy solar. Yes, the counties are doing it. Although it's now in the capital city of the county, it's also happening in West Pokot. West Pokot now is 24-hour economy. So, and we our doctors now. We have doctors coming from Moi Teaching and River Hospital, Eldoret, 100 kilometers away to come and work here and go back. So you can already see some from Kakamega coming through, because there is a massive transfer of knowledge, massive transfer of successes in those regions. And like I mentioned, Now, my people can read and write. They can even stop a professor in the middle of the road. Come and look at my books, because you introduced this thing called adult education.
Yes.
I can write my name, read it. This is what is happening there. So some people in the city who went to school many years ago, they don't understand the celebration we're having there. Our president, if you look at the intimidation the other day that the deputy president got, those in the other regime, would we really, if that was the benchmark for electing anybody, was he going to be elected because of the Trump charges that was given to him during the previous regime? Now, so let's not condemn, even this one who are now the governors or CCs or ministers, PSS, going to court. Let people go and clean their names if they are there. Let's also allow, let's not give pressure to ACC and DCIs to look like they know what they are doing. Let them do their work. This is Kenya. We have no other spare country, let me tell you. We will want to celebrate our lifestyle and our living when you are still alive in this country. But when you walk around, until people are feared to work, you don't want to be a CC, you don't want to be a governor, because people will think, what is that? It's really, let's come out of it. If you must be found to have done a mistake, go and be processed and be solved by law.
Yeah.
So we will need to encourage everybody. This is the mission these guys have.
And if I can add something little.
Yes.
You know, like at independence, 1963 to 66, we killed the first attempt at devolution. And again, it was a fight of, the central government and the devolved, units, majimbos. Now, sometimes when you want to kill something, you give it a bad name.
Yes.
And after you give it a bad name and you tell people that this is not good, the governors are corrupt, there's all that, then you prepare the ground. And then you say, now, let's change the constitution. This is not working. Just like now, people are saying the Senate is not a good idea. Let us, destroy the Senate. And yet, a Senate which is properly working is an oversight organ. And so we need to be careful so that we don't give devolution a bad name and then proceed to kill it.
Okay. Governor?
Yes.
Can I talk about the relationship between governors and their deputies and governors and county government? Why is it always so hostile? Why is that?
There is one problem which I am yet to know whether we made a mistake, whether it was right or wrong. But you see, the law does not give any function to the deputy governor. The law does not give any function to deputy president. Yet they must go through an election. The law is very clear. The Constitution says it will work as assigned by the governor or by the president. Yeah. They talk about the president, but they now say it mirrors at the county level what happens at the national level. So it is true, no real functions were given. And then somebody goes through an election together with you, believing that he's going to share half the government, but it's just a spare wheel. He's just kept. If there is no puncture, there is no use. It stays in the boot for as long as it takes. Now, what I'm saying is we really need to audit the various laws that we came up and this system of governance, whether it serves us well. There was an attempt through BBI and all that.
Right.
But I don't think it didn't see the light of day.
But is that
doesn't mean we can't look at it again.
Sure, but is that why deputy governors are so restless most of the time?
Yes, some. That another issue is most of the deputy governors were contesting for the gubernatorial seat. I know quite a number, and especially the ones who now end up fighting with the governor, is that they really expected something else without actually discussing and working together so that they succeed together. So I think that is one of the issues that should be work in progress. Yeah. We must now reflect over the past 5 years. Although I didn't want to go back on that, I just want to mention that I'm not being overprotective on county government. I know there are also false allocations in all these stories. Remember, I was accused of having 3 choppers.
I remember.
In parliament here.
Did you have 3 choppers?
I asked government, yes, probably I have the 3. I would like to be sure. And in fact, recently, I mentioned in Parliament when they were vetting me for JSC, I said, yes, I could be having 3, but I'm yet to be sure. And if I get the 3, I would give 1 to JSC, I give 1 to the Parliamentary Committee, and I keep 1 to myself. So, and imagine they were accusing me in Parliament and all over the place that I have choppers. They also accused me of having an estate in the city. I told them I might have forgotten. I want to be assisted. I'm not getting the rent. They also accused us of corruptly getting ambulances from the Red Cross. Yet I wasn't the member of the Legal Affairs Committee, and we passed a law. We crafted a law to say Red Cross is an auxiliary to county governments and national governments for the provision of these services. It is in the law. Yeah. But they are saying, why have you hired ambulances? I had been a member of Parliament for over 15 years. I knew the problem we were having in the rural Kenya, that you can have an ambulance as a government, but you put fuel at 3 o'clock, at 5 o'clock there is no fuel, and yet it didn't go anywhere. Any sick person will be coming, cannot be taken to hospital unless he produces more fuel, and yet you left fuel half an hour ago. Yeah. So you really need a professionalized delivery of ambulance services, which Red Cross is on top of it. They monitor their systems and they're able to take sick people to hospital. I wanted to address the healthcare question in rural Kenya, and that's what we were doing. And I'm happy that a large number of counties opted for the same. Those who bought ambulance still have administrative challenges, including tires, getting one out within 3 weeks after being bought. Because that is the bane, that is the problem with the public service in Kenya. So we need to ensure that we become proactive in this. Back to your question on the deputy governors. It's a real problem, because we shouldn't have the governor fighting with the deputy governor, with the deputy governor. But then I don't think we have given them proper laws. Yeah. In the BBI, I saw there was a proposal that they could be given a ministry, that they are entitled to run one of the ministries. That would be progress, but that won't stop the fighting. The point here is they should be assigned some duties, and they should also be respected. They should feel respected. But then, if they went in to fight with the governor, that's wrong. We saw what happened in Kiambu. Yeah. The deputy governor ensures the governor is removed, so that it takes over immediately. Others could easily start doing other such funny things. But what I believe in myself is, let the person who has been elected to deliver the service be given ample time and should not be disturbed. I've never disturbed mine. I tell them, proceed, gentlemen. Give us services. That is what we want.
Did you get along with your deputy?
Yes, to a very large extent. A little disagreement here and there, but
you see,
nevertheless, we got along.
But you disagreed?
Yes.
A lot?
Not necessarily a lot. I don't know how you quantify, but there it is. Sometimes we wouldn't entirely agree.
Sure.
Because
he just read newspapers all day and drank tea? Or?
I don't want to...
He had no role?
I don't want to get into that unless we are both here.
Okay, well done. Governor, did you get along with yours?
Yes, to some extent. I'll explain. Yes. There are 2 lagunas we must sort out if we must continue with the highway of developing Kenya in devolution. One is for Senate. I've been a senator. Senate have been disabled by the same law. National Assembly has been enabled by the same law. Governors have been enabled by the same law, and then they disable the deputies.
The deputies.
So for senators, they need oversight funds, money for oversight, not for their pocket money. There must be a distinction. What that means is, or the county government must employ experts that work with the governor, with the senator, 3 or 4 of them, an economist, procurement, or something like that, somebody who can examine books on his behalf. So that when you want to look and check your county, how they are performing, you have a pool of experts here who can analyze for you, so that you don't start condemning. Oh, when the Auditor General says this amount has not been explained, then the senator jumps into podium and starts accusing the governor, and so on and so on. You need Senate to be empowered to have that pool, working with the senator. But when we mention that, the MPs also say they want the same. But that can be dealt with. For deputy governors, I was the first governor in the entire republic to give my deputy duties. I read the law and said it would be ridiculous, because I was as a senator before and I saw the war that was going on. When I came in as a governor, I decided to make my deputy, make him also a CC in charge of a ministry that is based in. Mine was a doctor. Mm-hmm. So it went very well. The only challenge I now had was when my deputy received some challenges that were personal to himself and his family that made him stay away from office until I became a subject of condemnation by the subject citizens. So now wrangles came and so on and so on. But so many counties finally followed us.
But wasn't that the guy who was based in America?
Yes, he had to go to America. And so he had a family problem that made him remain there. When he was still sorting out, contaminations began here at home, fighting me, everybody. But now he sorted out. But as Isaac, Governor, has said, we really need National Assembly and the Senate to examine the law, and the expert is here, to see how we can improve and make our constitution more better than it is today.
Sure. Governor, weren't you once almost impeached?
Yes, and even before the impeachment, can I just answer that question of the deputy governor? You know, my understanding of both of us, because we were elected on one ticket, so we had like a joint mandate. And so the way in which we used to work was, if I'm not present, the deputy governor will chair cabinet,
yes,
will, make decisions on, behalf of the government. Yeah. And really we would, work together knowing that we'll complement each other. And for a long time, that worked very well. She would have, our own flagships, like, the gender, based violence issues. Because you also want somebody to realize, herself, himself. And so I found that very, very positive. And we were a county where it was said that the governor and the deputy really worked as a team. Of course, at the very end, during elections, we went separate ways. And that is expected when, there are elections, people can go to this group and others can go to that group, and that is accepted. But I think that is the important thing, to realize that it's a team. And both are elected. The deputy governor is also elected.
And can be removed.
And also can be removed. So I think that is very, very important, so that people don't fight and people don't weaken the institution of the governorship, because both of them are in the institution of governorship.
But it happened in Kisii, Ongwae, remember? In Kisii, in Nairobi, Sonko, Igathe. Right now in Meru, Kawira is facing all kinds of opposition. And speaking of opposition, you did the same. I mean, they almost ran you out of office.
Yes, but that was now because of the party issue, because I was in a minority party, Muungano.
But still, it shouldn't matter, right?
It shouldn't. It shouldn't if our political culture is properly, developed. And if you don't just want to score points and you don't want to remove somebody because you want somebody from your party, to come in. But again, the MCAS then had their own agenda, because, I resisted them, having a very high budget, 1 billion, a few people, and the entire budget was 4.3 for 1 million people. So because of that resistance and, with party support, That is why they wanted to remove me, and that's another problem. If you begin to just remove governors, to impeach them, and to censure ministers for no reason, then again you are weakening devolution, and that is internal. It has nothing to do with, it is an internal thing, maybe not the national government getting involved, and that's why the governor and the deputy governor must work together. The county executive and the county assembly must work together. MPs and senators must not think that they are fighting, governors, so to speak. I mean, the oversight is very, very important. But counties that you have all those people working together, and even with the national government at the county level, those counties have progressed more. And that is the future of devolution, so that people know they are all serving the citizens and they need to be, to work in concert.
Yeah, but that doesn't always happen. I mean, do you think MCAs are a menace for the most part?
Not really a menace. I think I want to agree with my colleague that only understanding of the roles, and that's something that has to evolve, because all of a sudden we had MCAs who wanted to behave in a given manner. We had various suggestions to the CRA to give a ceiling. Because you see, one other thing that this new constitution has come up with is to give a free hand to MCAs and MPs to deal with the budget. If you look at the National Assembly, they have about 40 or 50 billion now allocated to the National Assembly. That is a lot of money, really, a lot of money, really. And if at the county, they wanted 1 billion, like they also did the same to me. They wanted 1 billion, and the remainder for development was 1.2 billion. So how do you deal with it when they are the ones actually passing the budget? How do you deal with it? In fact, they stopped my budget for the last, I think, 1 year. I didn't use even a single cent, because I would give them the budget, they would change it. I refuse. I overrule it or reject it, veto it, send it back. They do the same thing.
Because they wanted money.
So I just decided not to affix my signature. That therefore there'll be no withdrawal of such funds.
So how did the county operate?
We operated on 50%. We are allowed to use vote on account. 50% of the budget. The rest remained. My successor just found the whole amount
sitting
there, because I couldn't bring myself to signing, authorizing the use of funds in the manner that the MCAs were trying to untwist me to.
Yeah, but that's what they do. They hold you ransom.
They hold you ransom. They held him ransom until we even thought maybe we should let fresh elections happen in Makueni, because we were very sure that he was unassailable in his position, because it was the right moral position that he had taken. Then we thought even those MCAs ought to be punished by going back to election and let Raya teach them a lesson, that you don't go holding ransom the governor and then you expect us to come and give you accolades. So one thing on the governors is that there was a ruling about there being a public participation process when you want to remove a governor. How can 1 million people vote for a governor and then 29 people remove him for very flimsy reasons without involving the voter? So we were thinking there ought to be a law again, that there has to be maybe a recourse to a plebiscite in the counties to confirm this, so that the governors can then stay on the right side of the public, not to be twisted or held at ransom. That's where we're having serious problems in the counties, because governors, a large number of them come believing they are actually going to deliver. But they realize that if the MCAs are not in sync, they won't deliver. And if the political party affiliations are such that the governor could easily be disadvantaged, then the governor will be in a serious mess. And
it's happened.
So he ended up doing nothing.
Correct.
When he became stable, he actually delivered a lot of development to Makueni.
Yeah.
He did a lot on agriculture and food.
But a lot of them are lame ducks.
Yeah, because there is need to continue. What do you mean?
Gentlemen, I want to go to the magic wall, if you don't mind. Let's see, there's a lot of reactions from across the country, around the region, and around the world. Let's read some of them. Emissary Samuel says, Jeff, ask the former governors about their thoughts on elevating the number of county governments. Yeah, real quick. Prof, what do you think? There was a talk that they want to raise them from 47 to 56?
I think that's not necessarily a good idea, because it means that a lot of the budgets will be divided further, so that when they get less money, particularly for development. You know, I was thinking that the better thing perhaps to do is, of course, there are people who want more counties, and of course you have to change the constitution for that, but maybe one thing to consider first is the economic blocks. Because if those economic blocks try to bring several counties together, so that now they become centers of doing bigger development things, that is perhaps a first step.
That's sort of like the old provinces?
More than that, because even as of now, the economic blocks are divided in ways which don't replicate the old provinces. But I think they are an important layer or tier of government.
JKL, what do you think about that? 47 to 56?
Personally, I would support. Reason, you know, we have now tested devolution for the last 10 years, and there were areas that were nearly getting counties that time, but they were shelved. So now with the population and with the growth and with the amazing story of devolution, why not? As long as we share the cake, it doesn't matter. Too many children, you can still come and feed on.
Governor.
Yes, I want to agree with my colleague here. Much as, to a very large extent, again, Professor is equally right to a certain extent, but that would only happen in the three-tier system, where we had the counties and then the regional governments. But that may no longer be viable. But as it is, a county like Nakuru ought to be 2. Imagine 2 million people plus.
Yeah, plus.
Imagine Kakamega, a very huge one. Yeah. And I don't know whether, was it Kiambu or one of these other counties here are having also an extraordinarily large.
Or Kitui.
Or Kitui, no. The number of MPs, how many do you have?
In Kitui, 8.
8, yeah, that sounds large. That sounds large. I'm saying if the average is around 5 MPs, 5 constituencies,
yes,
then we probably ought to stay around that figure. For so many other purposes, because some of these counties that were brought together, like Nakuru, is multi-ethnic, and therefore there is bound to be some disadvantages up and pale. Sure. We really need to look at it, because we had those concerns even in Naivasha, and the Hansard can bear that as witness. So we may relook at it, and then we have got to start a debate on Nairobi.
Yeah.
Should it be being a national capital? Should it be a county
or remain,
or a special metropolis?
Like Washington, D.C.
Yeah. Like Washington, D.C. Why should we really go through this election? You've seen what it can deliver. You've seen what Nairobi can deliver. Yeah. And then you may not quite address the most serious agenda. I think national government is much more better placed to deal with a capital. Because it may require much more resources than you would probably put for the other areas, because we all have to come here. There should be no slums in the city. And no county can ever sort out the question of slums. No county, no matter what. It can be a national government and international support.
Absolutely. Okay, more tweets, thick and fast. County Digital KE says 10 years after devolution and many functions are still held by the national government. Ask the governors what they think should be done. Should we strengthen intergovernmental relations than give counties more resources with corruption very rampant at play? We move on. Biwat, engineer from Eldoret, says, kindly ask the governors, why can't counties be turned into centers of production instead of them being centers of consumption, which they depend on national government for them to run? Thanks for hosting such great leaders of our nation. Counties being centers of consumption, or rather production, not consumption. What do you think of?
I think there is the question. Sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
There is also this misunderstanding that the money which counties get, they are being given the money by the national government. They are being given that money by the constitution. And even as we said earlier, it should be like 35%, what we have always said as consensus. I think that is something that we really talked a lot about before, and they are not really centers of consumption, because some of the actually development which is happening at the periphery, if I can call the county's periphery, it has actually started during devolution. Before, it was just the center Nairobi, the big towns, you know, Mombasa, Kisumu, and so on. So it's only that there is a lot of need for a lot of development to be seen in the counties. And that is why the people are expecting that many things will be done by the counties, not realizing that the money that the counties have is, you know, not a lot of money. But I like the earlier question also of making intergovernmental relations. You know, the moment that instead of, you know, county government, national government taking each other to court, you know, like one judge said, you know, just this week, I think there needs to be more conversation so that things are sorted out, and the COG, the Council of Governors, is made a legal entity in terms of law, being in the law, you know, getting a secretariat, getting, you know, resources, a budget, so that therefore, there is a, you know, good relationship, and many things are sorted out between, and the summit. Actually, the summit, which is the governors and the president, previously, it didn't really do what it is supposed to do, so that there's good conversation there. The resolutions are implemented, and, you know, devolution, therefore, goes forward.
Sure. Babu Michael K. says, I prefer and advocate for every governor to be audited before and when leaving office, because after every new governor assumes office, there must be aspects of corruption in the specific counties. These are public funds and should benefit the public. There's more. He says, goes on to say, this issue of ghost workers has been puzzling me for the longest time now. Money is always lost and not being recovered. They have been in that office, governor's office. Can they expound on, make me understand how this happened, please? Ghost work is always a problem, huh? Prof.
If there is an insulting terminology being used in counties, in human resource, there is nothing called ghost.
But they are there.
No, let me tell you, a new governor comes and wants to kill and destroy the officers who are there, he calls them ghosts. How do you do that in your rightful senses? We have built devolution for the last 10 years. What we should be doing, every new governor coming, is to put focus on the training and sharpening the human resource capital. So that if you are an engineer, you are more trained to produce better outcome than you were 10 years ago. But when I come in as a governor, I come now to show my powers, you wipe out everybody, calling them ghosts. That's an insult. As I came in myself and took over from my brother, who now again came and took over from me, I rejected that idea of wanting to chase people. If there was an idea of wanting to check them, give them leave. Check if there are issues that you need to strengthen, and then bring them back, which we did. But the national government needs to work together with the Council of Governors. This issue of wiping out staff and killing them by introducing a terminology called ghost is the worst thing we can ever do. We only have casual workers, we have contractual workers, we have P&P workers. Where is this other one called ghost?
They are real people.
Cyril Otieno says, ask the three governors why they haven't vied for senatorial position, and if it's really great for our country or for our democracy to see a former governor run for a lower position. Are senators lower position?
No.
No.
No. That one doesn't know.
It doesn't know. They are governors already.
So how come you, I know you were a former senator.
Yes.
How come you all never ran for Senate?
That's a different question. The point I'm saying is that senatorial position is not a lower position.
Correct, I agree.
It is equally good and it's a post-devolution. And there are a number of governors who have actually run for senatorial
yes.
position.
We have Governor Robert.
Yes. The only thing I want to point out to you again on an earlier thing is that we now need to highlight Article 6 of the Constitution. That talks about the interrelationship between the national and county governments and the consultative process that they should go through as they run their business. They can only do it through a consultative process. So intergovernmental relations becomes very, very important. And also, national governments and county governments are interrelated in that national government may have policy which has to be implemented by the county governments. But then again, that ties up with more resources so that we can gain the bigger picture. For instance, agriculture has gone down, and therefore we are not producing enough.
Yeah.
Because, for example, to meet the Maputo Declaration on 10% allocation to agriculture, you need to give resources to the counties that implement agriculture. But as of now, a lot of that remained at the national level. So we are unable even to get food. So we are not going back to productivity. And then we start, that consumption is not necessarily even at the counties. At the national level, yeah, because you can't get now chicken giving enough eggs. You go to South Africa, you bring them from China. This is a disastrous direction that we are taking. We have to rediscover productivity as a country. And then, therefore, that is when our economic growth will gain momentum.
Good point. All right, next. Bill Gaucho says, no way the three of them are reading from the same book or script. It's either they have had a mini meeting before coming or they are being honest and supporting devolution. Did you all have a meeting before coming?
I just met them.
I'm just seeing Professor for quite some time. In fact, we've not met with the Lonyankapu until we met here. Professor Lonyankapu. I think we were the
Devolution conference.
The Devolution conference.
Yes.
And you had not told us that we will be coming to JKLIVE.
No.
Then.
No, we hadn't organized.
Yeah, so we were there. He was receiving an award for his performance in his former county.
Correct.
I was there also. I was invited.
Yeah, you were there too.
For defending devolution.
JKL, were you there?
Yes, I came there. Yes, I was there. One of the discussants.
Yeah.
Super Deviant says, I can see former governors are comfortable with corruption. I can only draw one conclusion, that all tasted it or ate it fully. What? Nyambok Michelle says, the fight against graft is a good one. However, it's not known how genuine it is. In Kenya, it's always being done along either ethnic grounds or political party lines. Yep. While Joanna Senior says, devolution has ensured that decisions are made closer to the local people, communities, and businesses they affect. It has provided greater freedoms and flexibilities at a local level. Okay. Lesupnwen CPA says, greet Professor Lonyangapu and let him know I am in his home ground and I love the serene environment he invested in West Pokot. I tell you, greening of ecosystem is real here. A nice place it is.
I told you to come.
Am I still invited?
Yes.
It's done.
Let's read one more. Akasha Kesh says, ask the former governors, especially my first governor, Isaac Ruto, if they will vie again in 2027. Go on.
Isaac.
I thought I had mentioned earlier that for now, I'm supporting all those who got elected. For gubernatorial, for MCA, MP, president, we want peace. After every election, we should allow all these guys to deliver on their mandate. We wait for 2027, we will be in the race. Yes. But for now,
yes,
those who are elected, we want to give them an opportunity to serve Kenyans. Otherwise, after every elections, we are mixing ourselves up and we waste valuable time and resources chasing wild goose. And when the one who is being harassed goes to the opposition, then the next thing is he will also disturb the one coming. So Kenya will lose years and years of functionality. Let us try to bring in some discipline and order in elections, even as we struggle to ensure the elections are free and fair. And for elections to become free and fair, we need to strengthen the culture. There is one good thing that I realized in the last election. Kenyans aren't, for the first time, voting along tribal lines. And then another thing, and I can attribute that even to devolution, because even governors, when we used to meet, we did not bother about our parties. We just wanted to deliver to our people. The people of Mandera have no idea which party the people of Turkana voted for, but they know they are in a county called Turkana. And if you get equitable distribution of resources, Turkana will prosper, will flourish the same way the people in Kitui will. So Kenya will no longer be, it is this community versus that other community. No, let the resources go down. Let us sort out the little hitches that we have in devolution and celebrate it. But then again, one thing that we have never solved and we need to address ourselves to is the question of 15% of money allocated to counties and approved by Parliament, which is of 5 years ago. So we are talking about 15% of the resources of probably 2018. Maybe is what now the counties are getting. We don't need that type of thing. And then we've got to disabuse ourselves of the fact that, of the notion that counties are being given money. National institutions like KRA is a shared institution. It works for both the counties and the national government. They collect money all over. In fact, in my county, and I know a number of other counties, we had started engaging KRA to collect revenue for us within Bomet. We thought they should take over because we didn't want to go the traditional way, the route that some counties do, that they put some roadblock and people were in rungus, that you have to produce this amount of money or you go in, or they collect your weighing scale. That is what the Tanzanians in Majimaji rebellion refused. It's similar to hut tax. You're saying every hut must produce a certain amount of money. This one is nonsense. Let's go to more current methodology using technology. And Kenya Revenue Authority is best suited to that. They can collect certain revenue earmarked for counties themselves. They have got the expertise, the technology, and they have got the culture in which they don't have to harass people, although sometimes I see them trying to become political also. But we want a situation where Kenyans can move freely without roadblocks for collection of revenue.
Prof, let's get some closing thoughts.
In my county, my citizens and the neighboring counties, they call me the governor on leave. Why they give me the name is because, of course, I still have 5 years, one more time if I choose to, which I'm going to attempt. They look at what we did. You know, when people celebrate and appreciate the efforts cumulatively the leadership of my time did, and they celebrate it, it adds a lot of value, and we really feel great. One thing that I want to mention as we almost come to the end, we have this body called County Public. We will wait for 5 years, we have figured you. We come in. So we really need the bigger version of Public Service Commission in Nairobi to make sure they go and check and strengthen County Public Service Board, 47 of them. So that experts, engineers, doctors are not harassed by the new regimes that come just because they think they were employed by the former governor. Former governors don't have they have no powers to employ. The board employees. So these are some of the teething problems that we need to tighten. Otherwise, devolution is the way to go. And I celebrate the President of the Republic of Kenya. Look at the maize. Now I come from Rift Valley. I ate maize in the morning. By the way, I forgot to bring for you.
You owe me maize. You owe me a chopper.
Yes.
You owe me some mangoes.
Right.
And some honey.
Okay.
So I promise you honey. So really, if you look at that, if we can be able to tighten that, and maize now is doing very well because the president decided to work with the Ministry of Agriculture here and told them to work with counties and produce the best fertilizer. By the way, fertilizer that is specific for soils of other regions. And that's what we celebrate. Maize now, those of us who used to use DAP, now when we applied this one, reluctantly, you know, people didn't want it.
They were fighting it.
They were fighting it. Now they are at the gate. They are now waiting at the cereal board 1 year in advance. This is what we want.
Yes.
What we want. Prof,
yes.
Some closing thoughts.
Yeah, I think first of all, in our conversation, I think we are very clear that corruption is a problem. Yeah. And all the, laws and the institutions should, fight against it in a way to deliver justice and so on. And even we talked about wealth declaration forms being made public. We talked about, lifestyle audits. So I think it's not good to keep on, heaping on counties this issue of, they are corrupt and all that kind of stuff, because both counties and national, this is something that we must, as a country fight so that we can release resources for development. And I think one thing that I also want to say about counties, this idea of public participation, actually, it's something that in in many of our counties, the citizens are getting involved in government, in governing, in managing projects, and being part and parcel of agency and ownership of their development. And I think that's something that requires to be emphasized, and both counties and at the national level, so that our people feel involved in the development that they they deserve. And in the county, sometimes you explain things in Kiswahili, you explain things even sometimes in the in a mother tongue and so on, so that people understand the policies, the development that is happening, and they contribute. Because sometimes when we speak English, like at the national level, the people are not in that debate, and that's not a a good thing. And maybe to emphasize on one institution of the county authority for development, where the governor is there, where the county commissioner is there, where all those heads are there. That is an institution that has not been utilized a lot to coordinate development, including county policing authority for security issues. And I think we need to make sure that all the institutions of devolution are all activated so that we go forward on that. And I think, although, I don't have a job like these other guys from the government, I still, and I'm not saying I want a job, but I still must say that the president, for the first time, has made sure that devolved units got all their money by June. Yeah. And I think, when good things happen, one must be able to point them out and to say more of those positive things should happen. And devolution really is a godsend, and we should promote it for our future.
Absolutely. But you wouldn't mind a job if you were offered, right?
Now, I said at the beginning that I am, working with my grandchildren and youth, mentoring youth, and doing that kind of stuff. So and I'm in a good space.
Okay, gentlemen, I hope I hope and pray that all of us will be around in 10 years' time, so that we can celebrate devolution at 20.
We will be here.
Right?
Thank you.
By faith.
God willing.
God willing.
Governor Isaac Ruto, thanks so much for your time.
Yes.
Governor JKL, John Crop Lunyangapur, West Pokot, salimia watu, uko?
Kabisa, hata wanakusikia.
Governor Kifutha Kibwana, Makueni, thank you so much.
Asante.
All of you.
Asante, Jeff.
Right. I want to assure you that we are in production, even as we work here. I told you we produce food.
Yes.
Even my colleague has mentioned to you. I'm sure my friend does say maybe his area is not quite expansive. And just to add on it, the other week I was inspecting the maize, and there was maize I could not catch. It was in the social media, and I'll show you in my phone.
It was that good?
You cannot reach where the actual cob is, courtesy of the fertilizer. So we are giving kudos to the efforts by the president on this.
So will there be a bumper harvest this year?
Yes. We believe that will happen. I'm only worried that the rains seem to have disappeared. These past 2 weeks. I don't know whether it's going to abort a lot of maize, but it was doing very well. And if we go back to productivity, this country will be okay.
Let's hope so. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time and for your optimism.
Thank you.
Yes.
Good luck, all of you.
Thank you.
I hope you guys feel the same way. What are your thoughts? Keep tweeting, actually. At Kunanga Jeff, at Citizen TV Kenya, the hashtag JKLIVE. Remember, every Wednesday, it's all about those 3 letters on the keyboard that follow each other. JKL, unless you're in West Pokot. That's another story. It's another JKL.
There's another one there.
Thanks so much for being a part of the show. Good night, good luck. God bless all our 47 counties that make up Kenya. Amen.